The Culture Tree is honored to be participating in Girl Rising's International Day of the Girl Summit 2020. We're very excited to present The Tree Hugger in collaboration with Thresh Dance Company. This is a real story of Amrita, who led environmental efforts in a small village in India in the 18th century. The movement she led was called the Chipko Andolan or Chipko movement, and it spread worldwide and is closely tied with Girl Rising's mission. The story is a part of our initiative, The Climate Warriors, which includes a puppet show created by the Culture Tree in collaboration with Magical Whispers, with the goal to instill conversation about environment and climate change. The show features inspirational stories from around the world about little children, and specifically girls, who led environmental efforts to make the earth more safe, more sustainable, and more beautiful. Like Girl Rising, the Culture Tree strongly believes that storytelling can be a transformational catalyst for impact and long-term social change. Hope you all get inspired by the story of Amrita. She dreamed, she rose, and she inspired and became an unsurmountable force.
Hi, I'm Mona Segal. I'm a children's book author and I wrote The Tree Hugger. As the effects of climate change become very real and dire for people around the world, we know that our children, especially girls, will bear the greatest burdens of its effects. But women and girls all over the world have been fighting to protect the environment. This is not a recent phenomenon. A village woman called Amrita and her daughters were the Greta Thunberg of 18th century India. Amrita and her community knew the importance of their natural environment and were willing to sacrifice themselves to protect it. In presenting The Tree Hugger, our goal is to inspire and empower girls to take steps, big or small, that will help save, protect, and preserve our planet.
As the choreographer and the performer for The Tree Hugger, I wanted to bring to life the impact that the sacrifice of Amrita and her three daughters had on the rest of the community, and later on in the 1970s initiated one of the most powerful environmental movements in India, the Chipko movement. We in India consider the earth as feminine, and to me, Amrita and her daughters represent the earth. Like the earth, the girls have great power within themselves, a power that can help inspire, empower, and help us build a better and more compassionate world. I used Indian dance theatre as my mode of storytelling, and with the great help of the wonderful original score by composer Kamala Shankaram, I wanted to bring a sense of deep understanding, compassion, and gravitas to the story, hoping that this can inspire younger generations. I hope you will enjoy this story as you see it now. A long, long time ago begins this story of a woman called Amrita, whose love of trees was legendary. How her village sprouted trees in the middle of the desert was a mystery. But Amrita showed such courage in shielding her trees that she became a giant of history. For generations, Amrita's family had lived in the Indian desert called Thar, where the sun blazes mercilessly and sand is all you see from afar. But come closer and you will see standing the sturdy Kejari tree, whose yellow blossoms and emerald leaves make a shady canopy. Amrita and her friends grew up playing under this wondrous tree. They hugged it like a friend because without it, what would we be? With its feathery leaves, they would tickle each other and giggle. A lesson in self-protection were its little thorns like a sickle. When Amrita grew up and had daughters of her own, she taught them the same lesson. Protect the trees like your own. They continued the tradition of caring for their tree friends, and trees in turn showered them with shade and blossoms. But one day, when Amrita was home with her 3 daughters, she heard loud noises. Was the village invaded by looters? The king of Jodhpur had sent an army of men bearing axes to chop down the khejuri trees to fuel the royal furnaces. But how did they stand up to the men with axes? Were they able to save the trees from becoming wood stacks? Could there be a happy ending? Could there be a good outcome? When some are determined to see the life of trees undone? It was not easy. It took a lot of courage for Amrita and the villagers to face this challenge. They each embraced a tree with all their might. Tree hugging was their peaceful way to fight. Chipko! Amrita yelled to her daughters 3. Hug tight a tree, no matter what comes to be. The soldiers froze in mid-action and stood amazed. Risking the lives of children for trees? Surely this woman was crazed. Move now or lose your head, threatened a soldier swinging his axe. If we move now, there will be nothing left to stand for, was Amrita's counterattack. Then prepare to die, said the soldier with no ounce of mercy. And he brought down his axe on Amrita, then her daughters, without pity. As Amrita and her daughters collapsed to the ground, Chipko! Roared the villagers and circled the trees all around. A single woman's courage inspired a whole community. They were now all united in the face of this adversity. The news of this carnage travelled fast to the king. In disbelief, he heard what happened to Amrita and her kin. He ordered his soldiers to immediately withdraw. The cutting of khejuri trees was banned by law. How brave were Amrita and her daughters to take a stand, to protect their trees for the good of their land. But if you lack the courage to offer such a big sacrifice, is there something else you can do which has a lesser price? Every little act can make a difference and be a great way to start. Here are some things you can do to play your part. Save every drop of water and use only what you need, so that future generations don't frown upon our greed. Say no to plastic and reduce the waste we create, so our soil and oceans can once again regenerate. Live by the mantra of reduce, reuse, and recycle. Without this, our planet will become uninhabitable.
You're probably wondering, is that an ad for some charity? But I actually have a normal life for a teenage girl. I get up, I brush my teeth, I listen to Rihanna, I pick my outfits, I text. Welcome to my world. This is Freetown, Sierra Leone. This is my mom, Salamatu, and this was my dad. My dad died when I was really little. I like to think he still watches over me. This is my dad's younger brother. He had to marry my mom because she was his brother's widow. She could have said no, or she could have become a praying wife, which is sort of like being a wife without the fun. But then my uncle was really quite handsome, so he became my stepdad. A few years later, Papa married Hawa. Now that was a love match from the start. I guess you could call us a perfect family, and it's true. Isn't my school cool? I'm the first person in my family to go to school. Everyone says I'm the lucky one. This is our physics teacher, Mr. Ellie. He told us about Isaac Newton, the biggest problem solver of all time. Lots of people think science is boring, but I don't. Science is about asking questions and solving problems, just like Isaac Newton. The most exciting change in my life was when I got my first real job. I was so happy when I landed a spot as a host at Eagle Africa 91.3. These days, radio is the biggest thing in Sierra Leone. Almost everyone listens to it. On the radio show, I'm able to talk to lots of girls all over the country and help them. Every week we discuss a problem. I don't mean a physics problem, I mean real stuff. One time, a girl named Usatu called in. She lived with her aunt, who used her to run errands instead of letting her go to school. Even worse, her aunt's boyfriend had a really bad wandering hand problem. Poor Usatu didn't know what to do, so she called the show. I thought about what I would do. I told her to tell her mom everything, to not be afraid. She wasn't doing anything wrong and that she should be going to school. A few weeks later, she called to say she was back at home living with her mom and going to school. She said I helped her solve her problem. When I'm older, my plan is to have my own TV show, solving the greatest mysteries in the world. Welcome to Dr. Mariama's Miracle Mystery Show, in which I, Mariama, find solutions to the planet's most vexing problems. Filmed here in Freetown in front of a live studio audience. My big dream is to go to outer space, to be the first African in space. But the truth is, I've never been on an airplane. Actually, I've never even been to another country. But I'm not afraid to dream big. While I was busy dreaming, Papa was having some problems of his own. He was being criticized by other people in my town about me hosting a radio show and staying out at night with my friends from the radio station. One night when I was out, he found out where I was and stormed in. I've never seen him so angry. Papa refused to let me host the show. I tried to talk my way out of it, which is something I can almost always do, but he didn't want to listen. That night, I didn't sleep. I told you my parents never went to school, right? Well, what I didn't tell you was what Hawa told me. That people in those days thought kids who went to school lost respect for their parents. I worried that maybe my father thought I had lost respect for him by having a job at the radio station. For the first time, I had a problem I couldn't solve. I thought, what would Isaac Newton do? For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's third law. I needed to find a force equal to my father. Someone my father would listen to. Maybe Hawa could be my force. So I borrowed a radio and turned it to Eagle 91.3. I hated to hear the show going on without me. Hawa really listened. She liked what she heard. She told Papa that he might have made a mistake. He agreed to hear me out. I told them all the good things the radio show was doing, like the way I was able to help Usatu go back to her mother. By being on the radio, I could help even more girls like her. Hawa said I should have another chance. Finally, Papa agreed to let me carry on with the show, only if I promised to come straight home afterwards and always let him or my moms know where I was. I was back on the air. Now everything is cool again. So you out there, watch this space because one day you're gonna see Dr. Mariyama's Miracle Mystery Show. Now there's nothing to stop me. Nothing in the world. Nothing in the universe. Because I am the lucky one.
Because I am the lucky one.
Hi, I am so happy to be with you. Super excited to be with Carol Owala of Big Picture Learning Kenya. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Debbie. So great to be here.
You're most welcome. Rukia Sebit of Sunflower Trust. Hi, Rukia.
Hi, Debbie.
And of course, two brilliant girls today because you're celebrating the International Day of the Girl. So from Big Picture Learning Kenya today, we have Berlin. Hi, Berlin.
Hi, so great to meet you.
Great to meet you too, Berlin. And Cynthia from Sunflower Trust. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
Welcome all of you. So we have just watched the Girl Rising Mariama chapter. It's such an inspiring story. What are the key takeaways from the film for each of you? So I'll start with you, Carol.
My key takeaways, I have so many key takeaways. It's such a powerful film that truly inspires us as women, but also girls. But today I'm going to talk about what has really inspired me, which is the role of relationships. So, the role of, us developing trusting relationship with girls and youth. We see that when Mariama is in trouble and she needs help and Hawa comes in. We also see when Mariama is able to support this girl who calls the radio station. And I think the success of this film is based on those, trusting relationships. I think it's very important for the girls that we support to have safe spaces where they can share both their challenges, but also have conversations that matter. So that's my key takeaway.
And to you, Rukia.
Thank you, Debbie. Just as Carol mentioned, Mariama is a very powerful, film. And for me, I had three takeaways. One was listening to children. You might think that they really don't know what they want, but Mariama, as young as she was focused and she already knew that she wanted, what she wanted to do when she grows up, and she was already working towards that. So it's very important to listen to the children. Then culture also played a very big role because, in Africa's setting, we are brought up around culture. So what, like for her, it's the mother was married to her father's brother. So culture played a very big role, and especially making decisions, because her father, her stepdad actually had to stop her to go to the radio station because of what the neighbors and the community spoke, how they spoke about her. And number 3 was everything has a first time. We are told that Mariama was, one of the first person to go to school in her family. And, she never learned from anyone, or she never had a mentor to guide her on what she wanted to be, but still being the first person in her family to go to school, she had, a very big dream, and she was working towards that. Yeah, that was my take home. Thank you.
And to our girls today, Berlin, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I've actually learned a lot, and also there is a connection between the film of Mariama and maybe what I've been learning from the Big Picture Learning Kenya. But for today, maybe I'll only focus on 2 things, that is growth mindset and self-efficacy. So let's say, for example, growth mindset. When it comes to growth mindset, we've seen that Mariama is facing challenges. Let's say, for example, her father feels like maybe she's neglecting or she's not responsible, which makes him feel like, no, you need to leave that station. And also we've also seen that there is a girl there who is also facing challenges. But what I can say is that, how did they cope up with these challenges? Through education. Remember that Mariama comes up and asks herself, what would have Isaac Newton done? And through this, she becomes a problem solver. So I can say that education is power, education can make a change, and education is knowledge, and nothing can stop you if you really have education. Yes. Then something else is about self-efficacy. Through this story of Mariama, it reminds me of where I come from. Mariama comes from an informal community that is Freetown in Sierra Leone. So do I. I come from Kangem, which is also an informal community. So through that, she gives me hope. It does not matter where you come from. It does not matter what comes your way. What matters is what you want to do and the way you want to achieve it. Because if you believe in yourself, then you can do it. Because what matters is the way you do challenges, the way you see challenges, the way you challenges, and also what matters is the courage you have, because one girl with courage is a revolution. Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. And over to you, Cynthia.
The story of Mariama has motivated me, and it has helped me to gain courage, and it has also helped me to know how to speak out for myself in front of my parents.
Great. So sensational. I like that you all agree. It pretty sums up the value of education and the significance of girls going to school. Very powerful. So Mariama has a clear dream, and it's a big dream, to be a scientist and an astronaut, and having her own show on science discoveries and learning. She tells us that it is important to have a dream, to be patient, and to be persistent in pursuing it and to study. To the brilliant girls we have today, Cynthia and Berlin, how does this story help you think about your dreams? I'll go with Cynthia first.
It has given me a lot of courage, and it has given me to strength to move on with my dreams, and it's really motivating.
Great. And Berlin?
Okay, so when I look at the story of Mariama and then try to relate it with my dream, I just start from the place that I come from, that is in Kangem, which is also an informal settlement. So from there, we really have so many hidden talents from girls, and I mean in general, we have youth. So people there or youth there have talents, but they're really hidden. This is because they lack support, mentors to guide them, or even people who can give them direction. And because of this, there is that they lack a way of going forward. So that's from where I come from. How many times have you been walking around and then you feel like if you are a girl, someone calls you, if you don't answer that, they will give you all sorts of insults. I have a dream of becoming a lawyer.
I want to have an organization that supports the youth talent. Through this story of Mariam, I think that it has given hope that I can do it. I don't have to look at where I am. I don't have to look at what I cannot do. What I should look at is the way I can achieve my goals and how I can get there, because my dreams are valid. Yes, thank you.
Terrific. That's the way, girls. I feel so proud of you that you have, you have a voice and you recognize that you need to use it. Like, you need to organize a life plan to access work. Like Berlin says, she hopes to become a lawyer, standing up against any injustice. Amazing. And so finally, I would just like to say a very big thank you to all of you. It has been wonderful having you all. Carol and Berlin from Big Picture Learning, Rukia and Cynthia from Sunflower Trust. And so the journey continues. The big question is, how do we have more Mariamas? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I know you enjoyed the Mariama story and the brilliant girls, Cynthia from Sunflower Trust and also Berlin from Big Picture Learning Kenya. Hamjambo na karibu kwenye kitengo chetu cha kuinuka pamoja maarufu kama Rising Together, kinachodhaminiwa na Girl Rising. Welcome to Rising Together, the Girl Rising International Day of the Girl Summit. I am Debbie Odenyi, Girl Rising Kenya Program Coordinator, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you today alongside Judith Registry, Girl Rising Vice President of Programs, and Pia Mancini, Girl Rising Young Leaders Task Force member. To you.
Hello, Debbie. Hello from Nairobi. How are you doing? Pia, welcome. It's great to be with you all on this wonderful day to celebrate the International Day of the Girl. This year's theme is My Voice, Our Equal Future. As you have seen from the video with Mariama and the change makers you've met in the last two sessions, voices are the most important thing for us. Young leaders like Pia are an example of how we are leading and shaping the future. Pia, as a member of the Girl Rising Young Leaders Task Force, you've been instrumental in organizing this summit. Can you tell us a little about how this all came together?
Yes, of course. First, thank you so much for having me here today. So this event really started out as an idea, and now, of course, it is so much more. 2020 has brought immense chaos in many intersections for young people like me in the task force. So this pandemic has been disruptive to our futures and to our lives now. This is why the Girl Rising Young Leaders Task Force felt it was important to create a space for a dialogue on our future. With that, I would like to thank the Imago Dei Foundation for supporting the task force and believing in our vision.
Thank you, Pia.
Debbie, to you.
Thank you, Pia. We have an amazing summit ahead of us today with thousands of people from every region in the world. We have a plethora of just from our esteemed leaders, conversations with inspiring change makers, and so much more. Truly inspiring work. In this East Africa session, my community and I here in Nairobi, Kenya, are excited to join students from the Sunflower Trust and the Thorn Project, Jedida Maina from Tika, and Caroline Gitau from Kenya Works. You can find the full program and the detailed agenda on the Girl Rising website. Over to you, Pia.
Thank you. So we are also excited to provide real-time translations in 6 languages: Spanish, French, Mandarin, Hindi, Arabic, and Bengali. We will be sharing the link for the translations in our chat function and on the Girl Rising website as well. The summit is also a 12-hour event, so please feel free to hop on and off from now until 10 p.m. GMT, and remember to convert GMT to your time zone. That said, the task force and Girl Rising have been working hard to organize this uplifting dialogue about education and girls. With voices and community in mind, this is a safe platform where all voices are to be respected. Bullying commenters will be removed, and if you see any inappropriate comments, please alert our team at idg@girlrising.org.
So today, we are rising together as a global community. With my colleague from Nairobi, and the rest of us all over the world, from Nairobi to New York and everywhere in between. This is a celebration not only to recognize our commitment to girls, it's a celebration for you. So your voice is important to us, and your participation in this event is critical. So throughout the event, we have breakdown sessions, polling questions, and ongoing chats. We hope you'll engage with each other. So we felt with gratitude for you for having joined us today, and we are thankful to our sponsors who made this event possible, as well as our partners who make our work possible. Partners and sponsors such as HP, Unilever, Viacom, CBS, Sherman and Sterling, French Press Production, and Streamit, and the many, many people who have given to the Sydney to Dawn Memorial Fund. Thank you.
Now that you have met us, we want you to meet more of the task force and Girl Rising community, which organized this event. And now for something fun that we can all do together. We want you all to join us in for a collective Girl Rising photo opportunity, and it is our way of bringing our global community together. Write Girl Rising on your hand and take a photo of yourself and post it to social media with the hashtag Rising Together. We can't wait to see all of your hands. Sorry, I'm like writing it right now. And your faces.
Well, right, and now we are thrilled to hear from Dr. Sarah Ruto, the chairperson of the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development and also the CEO People's Action for Learning Network, an inspiring leader and a role model for all of us.
The International Day of the Girl Child is both a day to celebrate the gains that we have made in terms of ensuring that girls are able to get their rights as well as boys. So it's a day of celebration because we have very many gains. It's also a day to reflect that there are some girls, many girls, who still remain behind because of certain cultural practices, because of socializations, because of norms, and therefore we need to reflect and ensure that they too can get their rights, because we know that when you give this child their right, then you're ensuring that the world becomes a better place. You cannot have girls being left behind. And so while we celebrate the gains that have been made, we have to look back and ensure that all these gains are for all girls, not just some girls. One of the stories of the girls who have inspired me is a girl, let us call her Ivana, who was going to a school somewhere in arid Kenya in the north. And from the time this girl was in grade 3, she was the only girl who had survived. And she went on grade 4 up to grade 8 as the single girl. And therefore, when I think about her, she had an inner drive, a resilience that makes me celebrate her. But her story would have ended up as incomplete because she did what she could have done on her own, which is to ensure that she completes that cycle of education. And then after that, even though she got an admission letter, nobody was there to take her on to school because nobody in her family felt it was important enough to take her to school. Then we had a head teacher who was teaching in Marsabit Girls at that time, who heard about her story. And she decided, no, this girl cannot remain at home. She looked for transport because she did not have it and went and looked for this girl who was not in the school but somewhere at home in Amanyata. And she found her and she brought her to school. She brought her as she was and said that this girl must learn and enrolled her in her school. So when I think about why this day is important, it's important because it celebrates the spirit that you see in these two people, the resilience of Ivana and the hope given by this head teacher to ensure that Ivana's strength is one that does not go in vain. Because sometimes for one to claim their right in education, you must grab it. Sometimes it is not given to you, because for Ivana's case, she had to grab it against all odds, and that is why I celebrate her. I'd like to urge all girls that it is important to identify what you want, and it is important to fight for that dream. Sometimes society is kind enough to facilitate you to achieve that dream, but sometimes you must go for your inner resource in order to achieve that dream. And that inner resource is not a bad thing, because it allows you determination, it allows you resilience, it allows you focus. And so if all of us were able to do that, then I think many girls, many more girls would be able to achieve their dreams because they have been supported or because they have had to rely on themselves.
We have a song entitled Coronavirus by Salome Wairimo. Sit back, relax, and enjoy with us. Welcome. Gonjwa kwa jina la corona ulilipuka mwaka jana Wuhani nchini China. Viongozi pamoja na wananchi sote tulidhani ni homa ya kawaida. Wanasayansi wakiwa na watafiti waliamua angalau kuisaka tiba yake. Kilichotushangaza na kutuacha vinywa wazi ni kwamba eti korona haina tiba. Rais wetu Uhuru wa Kenyatta naye akatupasha kuwa janga limetufika. Alitupa na njia za kujikinga na kuwasihi Wakenya wote watilie maanani. Mola twakuomba tuepushe kwa janga hili. Mola twakuomba tuepushe kwa janga hili.
Welcome to Stronger Rising, a panel discussion on girls, menstrual hygiene, and reproductive health in the time of COVID-19. I'm Rosa Lowe, a Girl Rising Young Leaders Task Force member and a co-moderator today.
Thank you so much, Ross. I'm Debbie Odenyi, Girl Rising Kenya Program Coordinator. I'm also pleased to be here today with three esteemed leaders and passionate girl champions. A very warm welcome to Megan Mukuria of Zana Africa, Jedida Maina of Tika, and Dorothy Ogega of the Kenya Ministry of Education. And for all of you joining us today for our summit, you can find their very impressive biographies on our website homepage.
Today, as the world grapples with a global health crisis, restriction on movement and school lockdowns are making it harder for girls to access reproductive and menstrual health care and creating another crisis for girls. I would like to start our discussion by asking each of you to very briefly describe how your organization is responding to the needs of girls and young women at this time.
The Ministry of Education in Kenya is coordinating the sanitary towels program, whose overall objective is to provide sanitary towels to all menstruating girls in public primary schools throughout the school calendar across the country. The sanitary towels provision is not a standalone, but is an integral component of the Access and Equity Program, which is the mandate of the Ministry of Education and cannot be treated in isolation. The sanitary towel intervention addresses the needs of many menstruating girls in schools, whose greatest challenge is absenteeism related to their reproductive healthy issues. The ministry has been managing the sanitary towels program right from inception in the financial year 2011-2012, where approximately 6.5 million girls have benefited from this government intervention, with the government spending around 2.4 billion shillings. This program has ensured access, retention, performance, and transition of the vulnerable girls in all regions across the country. Even if we have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the schools are closed, the girls are still allowed to come back to school once a month and pick the sanitary pads for their use. Thank you very much.
And Megan, your thoughts, please.
Thanks so much. This crisis is truly a crisis for girls more than anybody on this planet, particularly around their mental health and their safety. We've done a couple things as Zana Africa all around sanitary towels and reproductive health education to combine them. So the first one is we've launched, this is our sanitary pad brand, Nia. And on the back of it, we have partners, including Tika Health, which Jade represents here, so that any girl who gets these products anywhere in the country has her own choice about what digital platforms to access, whether it's WhatsApp, a confidential counselor, which Tika provides, if she's a new expectant mother, support for that, as well as educational support. And this is really critical because a lot of times girls have no safe person in their lives. They might not have access to a phone directly, but they can maybe get one briefly and get those answers. The second is because they don't have phones, we're creating comics. So we've done a lot of social and behavior change communication, which I'll speak to later. But what we've done is unleash that for COVID. So instead of just answering questions around myths for menstruation and other reproductive health issues, we're answering myths around COVID, really keeping our ear to the ground and understanding what are the challenges that youth are facing and how do we help them with information to overcome that. And we're doing this digitally on our social media platforms as well as print. And so those are the two primary things we're doing. We also have a special discount of a 3-for-1 pad packet kit to help girls through their entire termly cycle, because there are 3 terms in the school year. Whether or not they're able to actually study right now is another question. But really doing what we can to kind of pay it forward to help other NGOs that are purchasing products to get even better value for their money. And then the last thing that we're doing, and again, Tika is a collaborator on this because partnerships are central to who we are as Zana Africa, is looking at the landscape of safe shelters and rescue centers for especially adolescent girls. My husband works with the Ogiek in the Mau Forest, and I know for a fact that at least 70% of all the girls who are supposed to be in school have been cut through female genital cutting and often sold off because their families are so desperate right now. So we as Zana Africa are actually looking to collaborate with a local CBO there to be able to start a rescue shelter for girls. And so those are just some of the things that we're trying to do to pivot what we do in order to meet some of these key gaps that girls and women are facing.
Thank you so much. So I will just take on from where Megan has left off and just say that our partnership with Zana is one of the ways that we have been responding to women and girls right now. The one thing that we know, because girls are out of school and school being one of the places that the government reached them and gave a pack of pads, and that being impossible for some girls or many girls right now, it means that they are home without a sanitary pack. And so what we do is we have continued to provide a pack of pads per month for girls in our programming, but also girls outside of our programming because there is greater need right now. And this pad has information at the back about missed period, about motherhood, and we have seen a really high rise of teen pregnancies at this time. Most of the girls are facing sexual and gender-based violence. So the hotline that Tika runs provides a counselor on the other end who speaks to people and counsels them on phone, especially right now around violence, about mental health, which is also an issue that girls are facing at this time. We are partnering with others as well about the resources that are available. For example, partnering with GBV organization, partnering with organizations that help women and girls access justice, and also partnering with counselors who are able to provide stronger and continuous counseling over and above sometimes the one case of violence. The other thing that we have been able to do is to continue to create safe spaces where girls can come and have conversations about sex and sexuality, because we believe that when girls have information about their bodies, they're able to make good choices, they're able to raise alarm in case of violence, they're able to speak up for themselves and advocate within their own small girl groups about the kind of either violence that they're seeing in their community and about the access of services that they would like to be accessing at this time. The other thing that we have done is to just document also the services or lack of at this time. A lot of clinics and health facilities shut down during the pandemic, and there was a lack of access from contraceptive methods, lack of access for sexual and reproductive health services at large. And we have started to document with communities what gaps they're seeing, and using that to advocate with Ministry of Health about women and girls accessing all services of sexual and reproductive health at this time.
So Megan, I have a question for you. Can you tell us why you were inspired to found Zana Africa and some of the innovative ways you're breaking the stigma around menstruation and sexual health?
Absolutely. So I'm an almost 20-year resident of Kenya. I first came to Kenya the summer before my senior year at Harvard and worked with street children, and then was invited to come and move back and work with them. And so I'm blessed to count about 250 kids who are now adults and parents themselves as my own daughters and sons. And as I worked with them, I found out that sanitary pads, which sometimes here in Kenya we call sanitary towels, were our second biggest cost every month for girls after bread. And that absolutely floored me. And then I also found it was very difficult for adults to give girls and boys honest answers to their questions about their own body changes, about their own interests in relationships or not. And so I thought that as I looked at the research, and I found that 4 in 5 girls and women across East Africa cannot access either menstrual products or reproductive health education, I thought, my goodness, we need to combine these things. And every sanitary pad needs to be carrying reproductive health education, and every conversation about reproductive health needs to direct for advocacy around menstrual health. It's also one of the lower hanging fruits of taboos, if you will. There are lots and lots of taboos around reproductive health. I've had amazing conversations with elders in Kalifi, for example, around intimacy in marriage and whether that exists or not, like true equal intimacy. And so I really believe that if we can break the taboo around menstrual health, that can open up all these other conversations across a lifetime. And likewise, the onset of puberty for girls is a time of reducing what's possible for them. Rather than for boys, it's about expanding. And so by tackling menstrual taboos, we can actually change that narrative and help girls change that narrative. So we're doing 2 things primarily. One is we have, just as I showed you, a beautiful sanitary pad package. It was tragically the first African woman on a pad package in East Africa, that helps girls celebrate who they are, that makes them see themselves reflected. And in this whole era now of Black Lives Matter, I think some of these things are coming more to the fore for companies and NGOs, but there's so much of a narrative from people that look like me that is really problematic. So simply making products beautiful, we've had tweets with husbands who are buying it for their wives and don't want to hide it. So that in and of itself is kind of revolutionary, as well as recognizing that girls really respond well to comics. So in addition to the COVID ones, we have comics around reproductive health. We have a whole series of magazines that we put together for a curriculum, and we've been now talking with several, the Teacher Service Commission and others about actually getting it into the new Kenyan curriculum, and there's a lot of wonderful progress that we're making towards that. So it's been really important to focus on menstruation rather than talk about things that can be blockers. We do believe girls just deserve honest answers to their real questions, and boys too. And when you start talking about menstruation and getting kids to laugh and talk, it breaks the barriers to be able to talk about other things. And there are questions that girls have around appropriate touch, not appropriate touch, about their rights. And so we anchor this question of menstruation in full health rights, and really have it be girl-led, and I think, or adolescent-led, because we work with boys too. And I think that that really helps to break the taboo, because it's not just coming from adults and saying you need to do this, you need to not do this, but really allowing them to write questions on index cards anonymously, and then just answer them in a rights-based approach. And that's been incredibly revolutionary. Boys have been much more productive in terms of their understanding now of what girls face and supporting them, because it's very common, for example, to go to a school and you see a bloody tissue on the ground because it's fallen out of a girl's underwear, and to just make that like no big deal, and to help them access quality, affordable products, so that they don't have to solicit a motorcycle driver, for example, for sex in order to get the products. So those are a couple ways. I can answer any questions later about the work, but those are the fun ways in which we help engage youth to break the menstrual taboo.
Thank you so much. Jedida, a vast number of girls lack the decision-making power over their own bodies, with consideration to sexual exploitation, unplanned pregnancies, cultural norms in some communities like FGM, early and arranged marriages. How best would such girls gain the power to make informed decisions over their bodies?
I think the number one mistake we sometimes do is that we make it the responsibility of girls to fight age-old inequalities on their own. I think the whole society should see that this is everyone's problem. If girls are getting pregnant early, if they are never completing their school, if they're never achieving their potential as a society, then we as a society as a whole will not achieve development, or especially if half of the society keeps on being left behind. I therefore think that the whole society should come together and affirm girls' power. Girls are born with their own power. It is not to be given to them. They have it, but it is the place of the society to affirm this power and make sure that girls can exercise their own power. So I would say that the way that I think is number one that we can do this is by creating safe spaces and where honest conversations can happen about our bodies, about sex and sexuality, and putting in place comprehensive sexuality education for both boys and girls as they're growing up. I strongly believe that the more boys and girls know about their bodies, the more they're likely to delay sex, the more they're likely to make good choices for themselves when they do start to have sex. And this way, self-confidence will replace self-doubt. People will make choices easily for themselves, and it will be harder to take advantage of young people because what they know for themselves and they're making good decisions for themselves, then they are doing that from a place of confidence. I also think the knowledge of sex and sexuality replaces the gullibility that sometimes makes one open to exploitation and misinformation from either peers or perpetrators around them, or even the misinformation from the internet. And also avoid sometimes harmful experimentation from the misinformation that people get when there is no comprehensive sexuality education in place. Secondly, the thing that needs to happen in communities, I feel, is values clarification for communities as a whole. It does not help to have an empowered girl in a society that does not respect her rights or does not respect her ability to make that choice for herself. For that reason, we should have conversations as a whole community about girls' rights, about everyone's rights, and the need to respect that, and support girls in in acting out their own empowerment. When we live in societies that believe that women's bodies are owned either by their fathers when they are young or by their husbands when they're old, then women and girls will never be able to make decisions for themselves. We need to transform society's thinking. And to do this, we can do that by bringing societies together and just discussing what are our values. As an African community, what do we value? And how do we value individuals and individuals' ability to be the best that they can be? I feel that when we have these conversations and we have cultural practices conversations around FGM, around early marriage, that are rooted in the belief that girls are owned. But when we have that also in the conversation of cultural beliefs about how we honor children, how children are a gift to us, and our role as parents to nurture them and to bring them up into, people who are of value to themselves, at their own selves, and then to our community as a whole. I feel girls will grow up to believe in their own right and be able to act that out. I feel that there is a space for having conversations with girls in safe space that enable them to understand and believe in their own rights, but also conversations to happen with communities, to have communities respect that and support girls to affirm that and live out their best power.
Thank you so much, Jedida. Dorothy, what do you and your team see as the most important issues to address in the coming months as schools prepare to reopen?
It is the interest of the Ministry of Education to continue coordinating the program to ensure vulnerable and deserving girls, in line with Vision 2030 social pillar that states that the government will provide livelihood for vulnerable groups and increase opportunities for women, youth, and disadvantaged groups. So the procurement process for sanitary towels is in the process now. The ministry intends to spend 470 million to provide 1,675,679 girls with sanitary pads before schools reopen.
Thank you so much. What are some of the ways other organizations and individuals can respond to this potential crisis for girls and young women? Jedida, let's start with you.
I believe that it starts in the family, it starts at home. As individuals, as parents, as older siblings, we need to raise balanced children, both boys and girls, who understand equity and treat each other with respect. We need to listen to girls as much as we listen to boys. We need to create spaces where both boys and girls can go to school and succeed and not put the burden of the family, say, of an income on girls, which sometimes drives early marriage and FGM. We need to also endeavor as a society to just make a just society where every small and big ways that we can, and create conditions that we have and support girls to truly reach their potential. As organizations, I feel that we can have coordinated efforts to ensure that the issues of menstruation and sexual and reproductive health, especially comprehensive sexuality education, are streamlined and mainstreamed in our policies, but also are a reality in our communities, in school, in all places, in churches, in hospitals, when girls are trying to access information or services. We can do this by either creating spaces where laws and policies are being participatory. So we are asking young people to contribute towards the lawmaking process by them saying what are the kind of services they would like to see, and having that truly reflect on policies and guidelines that are being developed for service provision. Ultimately, it's the government's role to ensure that all this becomes a reality for every single girl and young woman. I feel that the government should put in place age-appropriate comprehensive sexuality education and mainstream menstruation policies, especially the implementation of those policies as it entails to provision of services and provision of products. Lastly, to ensure that there is access to youth-friendly healthcare services for all women and girls, especially adolescent girls.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'll try not to repeat any of the wonderful things that that Jade said. First, donate menstrual products. Girls need them. It's a human right to manage your period with dignity. I usually joke / not joke, if men bled from their ears, there'd be free cotton balls everywhere, right? Gloria Steinem said similarly in the 70s, and nothing's really changed. Our amazing partner in the US, Cora, they give a percentage of all of their sales to us to allow us to provide free products. We've supported over, I think, 4.5 million free pads to girls over the last 3 years together with them. So buy pads for yourself or tampons or menstrual cups from Cora, and that'll help. If you're here in Kenya, donate pads directly. If you're just an average person, answer kids' questions, be a safe person, work through your own challenges and barriers so that you can be that safe auntie, that safe uncle to a boy or a girl that desperately needs answers. Because it's not really our culture, either in my own culture or in a lot of African culture, for these issues to be told by a parent to a child. My husband's Kenyan, and even at our wedding, my parents-in-law didn't speak and my mother didn't speak because it's too loaded, right? So we need a rising up of safe aunties and safe uncles to be stewarding this generation across the globe. And this is not a Kenya issue. This is not an Africa issue. This is a global issue. And in the US, we have a deep, deep problem with this as well. So be that person who can provide safe answers. And then work together as an ecosystem. I think this is really important, and Tika and we model this really well. Dorothy, I'd love to talk more and see how we can collaborate more with the Ministry of Education, particularly around the distribution of free products, right? If you're in a certain place and there are more girls than you can provide, how can we as an NGO community support you to meet 100% of those girls and not just 1.6 million, right? So let's all talk together and come to the table as equals to find solutions that none of us can do on our own. And the last is do your due diligence. If you're an individual donor, whether it's $1 or $1 million, do your due diligence on organizations, whether it's Girl Rising or Zana or Tika or others, and donate and be active in understanding how social justice is playing out in our organizations and how you can be an active partner in that.
Currently, this program targets class 6, 7, and 8 girls, the age at which menstruation is likely to commence for majority of the girls. Though many more girls who are at puberty stage are in lower primary, are left out of the program, this shows that the budgetary allocation is far below what is required to provide sanitary towels to all needy girls. So we are requesting for support in terms of provision of sanitary towels, in terms of mentorship program, in terms of places where they can throw the used pads. We are requesting support from you and any other partner who is willing to come and support us, provide girls with sanitary towels, all of them in primary schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That has been a very lively discussion. And as Girl Rising, Rose and I would like to express our deep gratitude for your generous time and support in celebrating the International Day of the Girl. Our hearts are still smiling. And like Helen Keller says, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. And collaboration in the work for girls is key. Madam Dorothy Ogega, we value your work and the government contribution towards ensuring girls have a dignified menstruation while they are in school, once they reach puberty age. Thank you so much, Megan Mukuria, for sharing your innovative ways of breaking the stigma around menstruation and sexual health among the youth. Jedida Maina, we appreciate your insightful presentation on how girls can have power to make informed decisions over their bodies. And not forgetting our esteemed audience, thank you for being here in celebration for the International Day of the Girl. Thank you so much.
Our Trust for Indigenous Culture and Health is, it sort of, Tika was given this name because our early on work, and our work continuing, looks to link positive culture and health. So as we know, sometimes traditional African culture has been understood as only negative, but we also know there are beautiful things about our culture that we would like to see how those link and create health. But also being cognizant of the things about our culture that we would like to change and addressing that without being fearful about it. So it is about linking positive culture and health and looking at how do we learn from what our grandmothers and our great grandmothers did and how can that continue to serve us today and into the future.
Yeah, and Zana Africa comes from the word Zana, Z-A-N-A, which means tools or weapons. And initially we were Zana, Z-A-N-A-A, and that kind of rhymes with Sana, which is a work of art or craftsmanship. And for me, it was really about crafting sustainable tools for systemic poverty alleviation, particularly for girls. And ultimately that the girls themselves are, and we ourselves are our own tool for transformation of this society. All of the social norms we have, the laws we have, those are all creations of activation of ourselves, and we can always evolve and change that. So really wanting to empower girls with the tools that they need, including sanitary pads and knowledge, as well as communities, and encouraging them so that we can change society towards the way in which we seek for it to be.
So what's next for your organizations? Let's start with Megan.
Great, thanks. It's such an important thing to make sure that we're visioning into the future, even as we're trying to juggle this COVID reality. Well, we're a US 501c3 as well as a Kenyan nonprofit, and we're about to embark on a big $2 million raise to be able to walk with people to help us reach 250,000 girls in the next 2 years through partnering with the Teacher Service Commission and training teachers to be able to deliver our 18-month curriculum that is essentially comprehensive sexuality education, but we call it adolescent health and life skills. It's been really well received by the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, many others, and tested in a big 2-year randomized control trial. So now we're moving away just from the data to now scope. So that's 250,000 girls alone, which is probably double that if you look at boys and their communities. So really creating scaled systems change. And scaling our pad sales as well to try to reach at least that many per month.
And Tatika?
So where we see ourselves 2 years from now is, one, we'd like to take advantage of all the lessons that we are learning right now out of this pandemic and realize what are the different ways that we can continue to do our work in creating fun ways to learn about our bodies. So before today, what we have done is create game cards, scenario cards, curriculums that are delivered in person. So in the next 2 years, we want to see how can we turn these curriculums to online-based materials that young people can reach. We hope that doing this, we will reach many more people in their homes, much more than we were able to reach when we delivered this this physically. The other thing that we want to continue to do is to continue to do advocacy for real, true, comprehensive sexuality education within the Ministry of Education. And we hope that this will then mean that all girls who are in their adolescent years and above are being able to be reached with factual, comprehensive sex education that serves them now and in the years to come.
Yes, in the next 2 years, we intend to partner with well-wishers who can come, we work together so that we can provide sanitary towels to all girls in primary schools. What we are doing now is not enough. We are not covering all the girls. We also intend to carry out a mentorship program. So we are inviting well-wishers, partners, individuals who can support us, provide mentorship program to the girls and teachers in all schools in Kenya.
Wonderful, thank you. That's fantastic. I think the timing is just perfect. And I know there's some little gaps and things like that, but don't worry, we'll smooth this out. It'll be just beautiful when we present this on October 10th. Such an important discussion. I learned so much. Thank you so much for giving us the time. And we hope that you will all tune in on October 10th, and we'll continue to do pre-event promotion. And I hope it brings greater awareness to your organizations and all your efforts. So it's to me to say thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much too for the remaining in correspondence all the time. I hope to meet you in person too very soon. Yes, visit your organizations and continue to work together. Speaking to Dorothy was like she would really like to meet a lot of the NGOs working with girls, and we look forward to collaborating, like we said initially, and make sure we support girls and ensure they're in school, they live with dignity, and their rights are protected, and they're empowered. They have power to protect themselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any of you are welcome for a socially distancing lunch at our office anytime.
Sure, sure.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Wonderful to meet you all. Okay, bye-bye.
Hello, Girl Rising. My name is Mayura Villas-Boas. I'm a lawyer and a federal employee, besides an activist of Amnesty International's group of activists in Salvador de Bahia in Brazil. I'm also CIE Work and Travel Program alumni, and I'm currently working on launching a human rights clubs project in public middle and high schools in my community. The project focuses on gender fairness and respect to girls and women, and has given me the honor of receiving a CIE Exchange Ambassador grant. Its main goal is to prepare students to be global citizens who organize for social change and stimulate positive gender socialization. The idea of the project emerged after I ran a workshop to talk about girls' rights with a group of young women at Grace Care School in the city of Ghaziabad in India, where I did volunteer work in 2017. The activity with the Indian girls was so fruitful and so inspiring that I went back to my country thinking about how to transform the idea in something bigger. Hence, I started to do internet research and found a lot of wonderful materials from the UN and other NGOs that helped me to elaborate lesson plans to talk about school-related gender-based violence at some schools of my city. One of the incredible materials that I found was Girl Rising Tools, so I started to use it to conduct conversation circles, for example, with a group of graduation students and another one with Amnesty International activists from the whole country in Rio de Janeiro during the 2019 formation course for Amnesty International activists. Given this, it wasn't hard to convince the other activists of my group to support me to make the project idea a reality. So this is an example of how can someone start small and use the tools that already exist to move an idea forward. Therefore, if you have something in mind that can improve your community and make change in your home country, just start it. You can take the first steps with what you can find on the internet, engage people around you, and then elaborate your own project. After all, as Amelia Earhart, the first female aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean, said once, "What do dreams know of boundaries?" I'm Mayura, I'm a CIE changemaker, and I'm Girl Rising.
I sat in the chair, waiting to see her. Her who looks like me, speaks my language, wears her hair like I do, fights to redefine womanhood. Her who is struggling but has her head above the water, believing in the possibility of not drowning. I want to meet her. Seeing her will feel like crutches to my voice that so badly wants to move, like if I take the perpetrator's blame, she'll remind me that it was not my fault. That my clothes had nothing to do with his perverted thoughts. And I will hold her hand, smile, and say thank you for holding space for me to heal. But she is nowhere to be found. I mean, I have seen resemblances of her. They share the experience, but not the culture. They have seen the pain, but not experienced the joy. They heard my tale, but didn't believe it. They wanted me to heal, but had no patience. And I know it's not that she doesn't want to be found. She's protecting herself from a culture that will blame her for her pain. It's scary. I wanted to run, but I felt an urge to turn back, imagining what if it were you sitting there, wishing for the same thing, hoping to see a girl like you heal. Maybe I shouldn't look for her. I should be her. I share my tales so that you find courage in sharing yours. I fight oppressive cultural norms so that you find joy in being a girl. I speak up against rape so that someone respects your no. I show my face so that you can lift your head high. I let my hair out so that you can see yourself. See me heal so that you can envision it from your perspective. From my perspective, Tales of a Black Girl.
Girls have had to use unhygienic means to take care of their periods. Most of them are teenage moms. Before and during the pandemic, I came up with an initiative called the Transformational Girl Project, where we teach girls about gender equality, menstrual hygiene, and also give sanitary pads to girls in disadvantaged communities. With the Transformational Girl Initiative, I have been able to give over 500 sanitary pads to enable girls in poor communities end period poverty. My story is one of resilience, as I am from a separated home and I was the head girl of a boarding school where some girls had to go through period poverty. I made a resolve to help every girl in the most rural communities.
My name is Christabel Orishijafo from Warri, Delta State, Nigeria. I believe that every girl should rise, and this is my story.
Hello, Girl Rising. My name is Telia Zulu. I am a CIEE Work and Travel alumni, and I founded a project called From Me to You. So I started running this initiative because I realized that there were many girls in my community who didn't have the right role models to look up to. And those who had the right role models to look up to didn't know how to connect and interact with them. And the other problem that I noted was that there were several other girls who lacked empowerment in terms of skills, knowledge, and the resources that they needed for them to excel and for them to just rise up and make positive changes in their lives and also impact their communities and the country at large. So I developed an idea and started running a Facebook page where I looked for girls with compelling stories so that I can document their stories for other girls to read, so that when they read, they can become motivated and they can have the knowledge and they can also gain the skills so that they could also start making positive changes in their lives and also become better at who they are and what they do. From there, we moved on to running a radio program where we featured some of these girls that we featured on our Facebook page on our radio show so that the girls could interact with them on a more personal level through texting, through calling, and interacting with them on their social media handles. So we managed to run 13 episodes of the radio shows, and we also organized a community event where we had the sensitization talk with girls who are pursuing careers in food production and catering, and we also donated some resources for them to use for their practicals. I believe in the power to inspire because there are other girls out there who think things are not happening out there because they're not seeing stories of women who are making big moves. They're not seeing stories of women who are excelling in their careers, in their academics, and they're not seeing stories of girls who are using their talents and their skills to better themselves and better the lives of others. And I also believe in the power of motivation. Certain people want they want a push. They have the potential within them, but then they need an external influence. So once they see these stories, once they read them, once they interact with the role models, then it's easier for them to unleash their potential and just also claim for their rightful place in society. And also believe in the power of empowerment, because it's not everybody who has the opportunities that you and I can have. It's not everybody who's been exposed to the same kind of opportunities. So when girls are empowered with the skills, the knowledge, and the resources, then they have the power. They feel motivated enough, they feel empowered enough to, and they also gain confidence, and they're able to stand up for who they are. They're able to stand up for their rights. They're able to take up opportunities in the society, and they even get more involved and engaged in things that matter to them. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter how hard and difficult these times are. There's always one thing that you can do to make change in your life, and to make change in the girl of your, to make change in the life of your friend, and also make change in the life of people in the community. As girls, let's stand up for each other. Let's protect each other. Let's fight for equality. Let's share opportunities. Let's link each other to opportunities and to things that drive us, or to things that bring us together. My name is Telia Zulu. I am a CIEE change maker, and I'm Girl Rising.
We are so pleased today to meet you, Caroline Wanjiru Gitao of Kenya Works, for our Meet the Changemaker. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Debbie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and welcome to Girl Rising. For all of you joining us today, Caroline is part of the Kenya Works team, which taps into community to create lasting, dignity-building opportunities for women and children in Kenya. Caroline, we just had a fantastic Strong Girl Rising panel and discussed how the pandemic has created a crisis for girls and young women because of the difficulties of accessing menstrual supplies. I would love to start our conversation by hearing about Kenya Works Makini Pad initiative. Can you tell us about this initiative?
Oh, sure. Okay. First, I'm Caroline Wanjiru Gitao. I work with Kenya Works as the programs coordinator. And we have other programs, but the main one that we're having the discussion with about today is the Makini Pad initiative. This is an initiative whereby we do production of reusable sanitary towels, and we give them to girls, school-going girls in Kenya. Yeah, we produce the reusable sanitary towels, which have been of great benefit to our girls all over the country. And right now we have been able to reach to 32 counties in Kenya, and we have been able to reach to 25,000 girls annually. This is in different schools. Currently, we are not going to schools due to the pandemic of COVID-19, but we are moving to villages, connecting with the communities and the girls through churches and through organization, being organized by the CHVs, the chiefs. We are able to meet girls and giving them the sanitary towels.
Wow, quite amazing that you've had to shift with the change of the times into communities, now that the girls exist in communities and are not there in schools anymore. That was very creative, yeah. Caroline, talk to me about the communities that led this initiative and the women that designed it.
Okay, for us, Kenya Works, we do our work throughout Kenya, but we are mainly based in Kajiado County. This is a county whereby we have hardship, and the community around, especially the girls in Kajiado County and actually the whole country, we are experiencing a lot of problems when it comes to menstrual management. most of the girls, we've realized through our mentorship programs in schools and even in communities, we've realized they lack the menstrual management supplies. Others do not have total information about the menstrual management. And this made us start this initiative because we realized that the information on menstrual management was not there at all. And if it was there, it was not the truth. And this brought about a lot of myths and misunderstanding about menstruation. And therefore, this brought us the initiative, made us to start this initiative, whereby we have been able to train girls on the truths about menstruation. And also we have been able to involve we have been able to involve boys, men into this conversation about menstruation, which has really changed the perspective of the menstrual management. Also, talking about the women in the production unit, they are actually the inspiration behind us. We cannot, we feel that they are pushing us. Okay, we feel that when you are doing the production of the sanitary towels, the women in the production unit, they feel so much privileged to be in this initiative because they feel that they are meeting a gap in the community, a problem that they also have experienced. And through the production of the reusable sanitary towels, they feel that they are also contributing to the well-being of the girl child.
So Caroline, besides addressing the menstrual period for the girls, like you have said, how is this initiative, the McKinney Pad initiative, also addressing poverty in communities?
Okay, all right. Through the production of the sanitary towels, the McKinney Pad initiative has been able to address the economic part of our in Kenya, especially the girls and their families, the parents, they have really been relieved of the burden of purchasing sanitary towels on a monthly basis. When we issue a reusable sanitary towels to a girl, she's able to use that pad for more than 1 year. Actually, let me say a maximum of 18 months. But for us, Kenya Works, the pad we issue to a girl, we normally replace it after every year. So you can imagine a whole year being relieved of the burden of purchasing, like say every month you use like 100 shillings to purchase a sanitary towel. That one is a great relief economically for the parent. Also, girls have also been relieved. So many girls, they have been assisted economically because you see that most girls tend to go borrowing money from people, doing some jobs to get money to be able to purchase the sanitary towels, which when you get a reusable sanitary towel, they are able to move on smoothly without the economic difficulties. Yes.
Okay, Caroline, thank you so much. You talk with so much passion. What inspired you to do this work?
Okay, as I had told you initially, yes, I'm so passionate about the girl child, and especially when it comes to the menstrual management. Because yes, I was once a girl. I was there. I've passed through all the problems girls go through, especially during the teenage. Some girls, you cannot even be able to tell your parents to purchase the sanitary towels, and if they can, maybe the parents, they're not in a position to do that, to purchase or to give money to do that. They have prioritized on putting something on the table to buy food. But having someone to bring you a sanitary towel, that one is a great relief. So I'm so passionate when I am in this team, the Kenya Works team, who are providing sanitary towels to girls, and at least a girl feels sorted out for a whole year without any issue of menstruation, and they cannot stay at home. And actually, another thing that really inspires me is to see girls who we have given the sanitary towels complete their school, as in they have been kept in school. You know, without a sanitary towel, so many girls stay back home. They are not able to go to school, and this poses them to so many dangers like early marriages, early pregnancies, and having Kenya Works fill this gap, giving the girls the sanitary towels, keeping them in school, and you see a girl completing school itself is a great inspiration, and you feel to do it over and over again. So I feel so privileged to be in the team, and seeing at least girls completing school, and also you see this, they'll be the women, future women, they'll bring up their children who will also go to school, and you see an educated girl will become an educated woman and also bear children who will become educated, healthier, yeah, and you know, higher wages as well when they grow up and get employed or start their own businesses.
I agree, and actually an educated woman invests a lot more, like 90% of her income back into community, into the family, yeah, true. Who are some of the women in your life that have inspired you to this work?
I cannot forget to say my director, Julie Schmidt. She has been a great inspiration to me. When I first joined Kenya Works, she was my mentor actually. I first volunteered in Kenya Works, and through my work experience and everything, she has been like my guide, my role model in everything, because I can see the passion she has. She's in the US though, but it doesn't matter the distance she is from us, from the girls in Kenya, but she's still there. She's feeling it when she talks, when she's out in the US, whatever she does, she's doing it wholeheartedly for the girls, not leaving alone the women who are doing the production of the sanitary towels. They're also a great inspiration when you see them knitting these sanitary towels with a lot of love, with a lot of passion. Yes, they will benefit also economically, because at least they'll get something and buy something for their families, maybe to put to place on the table, meals and everything. But they're also a great inspiration. Seeing them that they don't get tired, they are doing it wholeheartedly. It's a great thing.
Maybe mention to me, how far within Kenya does the Makini Pad initiative cover? And in your work with the Makini Pad and interacting with girls and communities, maybe teachers, what is the one thing that you have done that you're most proud of?
Okay. Kenya Works Makini Pad initiative, we have been able to cover 32 counties, and we are praying that you'll be able to reach even more the other counties we've not been able to get to. Yes, I feel that when we go to the grassroots, the micro level, and meet the girls, it is a fulfilling activity on itself, getting feedback from the girls themselves, asking you issues that you have gone through, and at least now I'm in a position to like respond to them and give them direction. Yes, I'm not perfect yet, but I know whatever I've passed through, I can at least give someone a direction that will lead them somewhere better, where maybe I didn't have someone to guide me through. That itself is a great satisfaction. I feel so good. And also something else that I've done that has made me proud is that in this work, I've been able to learn a lot. Have learned a lot, especially through the menstrual management. I have learned that, okay, as a team, we have learned that we should engage men. We should use the comprehensive programs. Like, we should not only talk to girls about the menstruation. We need to like engage men, the boys. They need to learn about the menstruation so that we can at least solve the whole issue of menstrual poverty. You realize that most shaming comes because of lack of information. And when we involve men in our trainings, it has been so smooth. Actually, in those parts, men have at least come to hear what you're talking about. They have responded so positively. They are so influential when it comes to issues to do with menstruation. They are so supportive to the women. And you'll never hear a man talking negatively about menstruation when they have full knowledge of what is menstruation, how is menstruation managed. At least they know that these women, they are sisters, some will be their daughters, the men, some are their daughters, brothers. Yeah, the whole thing that about the comprehensive programs has really taught me a lot. So I'm proud to at least learn also in this program.
Great. What is giving you hope during this pandemic when we are seeing girls and women disproportionately impacted?
As an organization, we are so hopeful despite the pandemic, despite anything that comes along, especially here in Kenya. I can see we have realized that our communities, we have a lot of love. Love is one thing that has brought us together. Regardless of whatever is happening, you can see everyone responds to someone's problem, need. Promptly. Like you can remember when you had the issue of the coronavirus was announced, when it struck us, so everyone was willing to give food to the other person. When when you were told to work from home, people are not going to work. The girls are out of school. They no longer access sanitary towels. The ones were being given free by the government. Kenya Works is not there to give them pads from schools. At least you could see the neighbors were caring for each other. The hope of, yes, tomorrow I can still live and I can still smile again because my neighbor loves me, or there's that love, there's that cohesion. You see? Yeah, that one itself gives me hope, gives our organization hope that at least whatever we have taught our communities in the past, at least it is now showing the fruits. People are loving each other, they are caring for each other. So that is itself something that is giving us hope as an organization.
And just follow up on the pandemic, as you move to communities to issue and supply girls with sanitary towels, is there a difference from when you find them in school? How are the girls generally in communities? Their welfare, their being, generally, are they any different from when you meet them while they're in the school setting?
Oh yes, there's a great difference. While in the school setup and back in the communities, it's a huge difference, because right now, especially when you go to the community, you find that the need is much greater than when they were in school. Yes, you'll take the sanitary towels, but you'll hear some of them saying they slept hungry, so you'll need also to at least go with something for them to eat. You see, that's another need that is there still for you to accomplish for the community. Yeah, there are also so many other needs. Some girls will tell you that they are being forced to get married. So you will see that that's another need you need to rescue this girl from. But when they're in school, at least that is a safe area. They are getting meals, they are healthier, and like at home, you need to meet them in a certain place, organized, and they're waiting for you at least to give them a training. But some of them, they're back at home, they have been given some house chores to accomplish so that they can come to your meeting. It's a whole lot of difference. Yeah.
Caroline, what actions do you hope all who are listening to you today will take?
Okay, first of all, I like, as everyone who's listening to me, at least continue showing that love to one another, especially to your neighbor, whoever is just next to you. Show that love, because today, yes, you're having this problem, but together we'll be able to accomplish to get a solution to something. So at least the love, that one will give us hope. So let us continue being there for each other and support each other in any way that we can. Yes.
So glad to have you, Caroline. You remind me of one of my favorite author, Maya Angelou. She says, if you get, give. Sure. If you learn, teach. And I like the work that you're doing so passionately. And I love that you're so committed to the work and you do not mind to crisscross all the counties in Kenya to meet girls and to ensure they have a dignified period, and also just empower them in information and education. And the fact that you're also involving their brothers, the boys, and the men who are their fathers. You mentioned that besides the McKinney Pad initiative, you have other programs that the initiative runs. Would you mind talking to us about those as well?
Okay, yes, in Kenya Works, we have other programs. We have the Education Works, where we do sponsorship of secondary school students. Right now, Kenya Works, you're having 153 scholars, that is the secondary school students, but the schools are spread all over the country. And we normally do school fees for our scholars. We do some social needs, like we buy for them some scholastic materials. Yeah, we cater for them so that they can remain in school. We also have another program called the community workshop, whereby we hold workshops in the communities. We train the community members on positive parenting skills, communication in families, gender-based violence, how to seek legal intervention. Yeah, actually, we can term that as a positive parenting, because we realize that most issues, they come from the roots of the parenting. If the parenting is not appropriate, then so many social issues will arise. So that is another program that we have. And then we have the partnership works. We realize that when we walk alone, we will not walk far. When we walk together, we will walk far. But when we walk alone, we will walk fast. So we realize we need to partner with other organizations, like-minded organizations, whereby we do support other organizations through nutrition, whereby we do feeding programs in other schools. Rescues, we have a rescue center we also partner with. When schools are on, we provide food for the pupils on a daily basis. So Kenya Works, when schools are on, we feed approximately 3,500 students in Kenya. And we also do partnership in schools, whereby we buy like infrastructures, desks. Yeah, and there's a school, we have another school in Homa Bay, whereby we have some staff working there who are actually under Kenya Works. So those are the programs we have in Kenya Works. We have 4 main programs: the McKinney Part, Community Workshop, the Partnership Works, and the Scholarship.
Thank you so much, and I hope you continue with the good work you're doing. Thank you so much for coming onto this talk show.
Thank you too. As the Girl Rising, we are also going to continue educating and empowering our girls to have a bright future. Thank you so much, Debbie. It was interesting to have you and conversing with you about our work in Kenya Works.
You're most welcome, and continue being the change maker that you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Carrie Hessler-Radlett, wearing many hats today as president of both Global Communities and PCI and a proud board member of CIEE. I'm thrilled to be joining this summit today. At 1.1 billion strong, girls under 18 are poised to become the largest generation of female leaders, entrepreneurs, and changemakers the world has ever seen. True to form, so many of you already are actively working to ensure today's challenges and opportunities translate into a better future for us all, even if that means bringing your own seat to the table. I got my start in girls' education and empowerment about 30 years ago as a Peace Corps volunteer in Samoa, where I taught English at an all-girls high school. It was there that I saw firsthand how an investment in girls' education is the single most important investment we can make as a global community. Studies show when a girl receives a quality education, she is more likely to marry later, raise a healthy, educated family, earn a decent living, and improve the quality of life for herself, her family, and her community. She is less likely to be a victim of domestic abuse, less likely to acquire HIV, and more likely to be involved in her community as a leader. I got a powerful reminder of that a few years ago when I returned to Samoa for the first time in decades and met up with Rosela. Rosela had been my host sister, and she was 11 years old when I left Samoa. I have vivid memories of her as a young girl, so bright and so eager to learn. Part of my job as a Peace Corps volunteer was to manage a library, and so every day I would bring a library book home and I would read it to Rosela. I would read it to her in English first, and then she would read the same book back to me. She really loved to read, and she excelled in school. Later, I found out that Rosela had received a scholarship to the best high school in Samoa, and then a full scholarship to both undergraduate university and law school in New Zealand, where she came in top of her class in both. Rosela returned to Samoa, and she is now her nation's leading female lawyer and also that country's first female judge. She has devoted her life to women, girls, and families, and is a powerful example of what can happen when you invest in a girl. Everywhere I go, in every country I visit, I meet girls who remind me of Rosela, girls who are bright and eager to learn. They have so much promise and so much potential, but they face extraordinary barriers to their success because of policies and norms designed to hold them back, leading to far-reaching consequences for the welfare of those girls, their families, their communities, and their countries. That's why PCI, Global Communities, and CIEE are committed to creating safe and supportive environments where girls have opportunities to increase their knowledge and life choices and ultimately build the futures they deserve. With so many girls in need of support and in the midst of a COVID pandemic, it's easy to assume that the efforts of one person or even just one organization can amount to just a drop in the bucket, no bigger than a single raindrop. But together, raindrops become rivers, and rivers swell into the sea, and over time, the rise and fall of the tide can literally transform a continent. That's the belief behind today in this powerful summit. Your voice is important, and your participation is critical. With your leadership, we can and must help turn the tide for girls around the world. On behalf of generations of girls to come, I am Girl Rising.
Our trust dancers, you bring joy and hope to all of us. It has been an incredible 2 hours together. We want to thank all of you for your supportive messages and for posting photos with the hashtag Rising Together.
Yes, these are extraordinary times for all of us, particularly for adolescent girls around the world. Girls like Barlin, who wants to become a lawyer, Cynthia, who wants to become a psychologist, and of all of us here at Girl Rising, we are working to ensure they have the education and resources to achieve their dreams.
Absolutely, Judith. And even before COVID-19 struck, more than 129 million girls worldwide were not in school, according to UNESCO. Now, due to the ripple effects from the pandemic, Malala Fund predicts An additional 20 million girls of adolescent age are at risk of never returning to the classroom. They also face increased physical and sexual violence, early and forced marriages, unintended pregnancies, and economic hardships. This crisis could change the future of so many girls' lives and may also rob the world of their contributions, their ideas, and even their talents. Girls who could grow up to come up with the kinds of ideas and solutions we have seen from Caroline, the change maker at Kenya Works. To you, Judith.
You know, throughout this session, it's been very clear. The facts are clear that educating girls is an investment for our future. You have seen and heard from girl champions like Mariama and Barlin, and places like Kenya and Sierra Leone, finding solutions for themselves and for their community. Today, with you in this community, we are rising together. We can ensure to support girls like Mariama. You can give to Girl Rising right now by using the QR code or through our website posted below. These times, we need each other. You heard from the previous conversation with Debbie, love, togetherness, and we can inspire hope. We are rising together right now, and as we say at Girl Rising, one girl with courage can change the world. With your contribution, that's a certainty. Thank you so much for being with us today. And as I close this session, I want to share a final video with you created by our task force members. They work putting together this video as part of a fundraising campaign where they walk and ran to raise money for Rising Together. At last, may your voice and your story be a revolution. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
It takes everything we have to face it. Without a sound, we take a step. Inside our hearts are racing. If it takes forever,